shoes on and my feet got so tired, I'm putting on my slippers, and I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna play with my slippers on because...
If you didn't say anything, we wouldn't have noticed.
I stand a little tall.
I hope it doesn't affect your pedal.
I hope not. Right. Yeah. I've got to have my little notes here. Now I've lost my glasses again. Where are my glasses?
There they are.
No, those are the wrong ones. Frank, see if my pink case is out there.
It is.
All right, that's what I need.
Get ready to catch.
No.
Well, you don't need It's okay, Nick.
Give me your card.
No, you like right.
Nobody's here but yourself. Nobody's
All the lights are off. Frank, do you want those lights off?
I think they're fine.
Okay, because he's shooting into the windows here.
Well, we can't produce people like George Gershwin anymore.
I guess you expected to hear me play the piano today. Okay. Well, as some shows have a warm-up act, I have the need of having a warm-up act for me in order to get my fingers a little warm and you know, just calm down. And I've asked Frank Farrell, who's the cinematographer today, to do a number. I heard him do this when he was maybe 22 or 23, and it happens that it's a song that fits all my interest in ancient Egypt. So I loved it. And I asked him if he'd do it as a warm-up today. Let's see, I've got to read this because I can't remember everything. Okay, I wanted to tell you something about Frank. Frank is someone you should know because he is a very versatile, multi-talented person who's an actor, singer, dancer, producer, director, cinematographer, playwright, and what else I missed?
I think about covers it.
And he's now doing a project that is very interesting and cutting edge called Casting Audience Votes. And if you get a chance, engage him in conversation because it's very interesting. And I think you need more people to know about it. So that's just for your information. Is that called FYI nowadays? Okay. Oh, he started, I don't know whether any of you remember the theater walks. I know Patricia does. Patricia has gone to, you, Pat too? Okay, he founded the theater walks
Theater
hikes that were out in Morton Arboretum and other places where they would do plays and they would walk and do the first act and then walk and do the second act. He did that for 16 years and I never saw it. 13 years?
13 years.
Okay. Still never saw
I'll
it.
have to show you some movies.
Okay. He also started the Free Shakespeare Company in Chicago. That was when you were studying with me when you were just a young guy. And he also at one point did a thing called Rap Master Johnny Keats, which he would use the poem of Keats and to rhythm and so forth. Very clever.
I won a trip to Rio de Janeiro for that.
You did?
Yes.
Yeah.
First night I was mugged on the beach.
Oh! He has produced Gallimaufries that some of my students were involved in, and he directed a play that I know of. I don't know how many other plays you've directed, but I saw Two Gentlemen from Verona, and I got 3 students out of it. So that was he studied in London, and he's of Irish extraction. So please welcome Frank Farrell.
I had an introduction worked out, but Peggy mentioned many of the things I was going to say. But yes, indeed, when your voice, I've had a couple of voice teachers, Peggy, of course, the best.
Oh,
Yes, indeed.
Thanks.
And my other voice teacher had the name Margaret. So synchronicity right there. And she was also very much into the ancient Greeks. But you know, you're out of voice
not
left.
Greeks,
No,
Egypt.
the Egyptians.
Okay, Egyptian. Right, thank you. Good teacher. So as you can see, though, the house here is filled with Egyptian artifacts. We have Nefertiti up there. King Tut is there. Down the hallway, I've seen some more
Yeah, and
Egyptian artifacts.
over there.
Oh, and over here too. So this song is indeed a salute to the Peggy, the Egyptian file. So to speak. And it's a wonderful little song from a musical called Salad Days, which was done in the 50s originally in London. It was a big hit. It's sort of compared to Fantastic's, a very small cast. And this is a song from a nightclub manager at a nightclub called the Cleopatra. And it's a show that's being revived for Christmas for the past 2 years in London. It's been revived to great success. So I haven't done it for a while. We're going to give it a try. Okay. This is called Cleopatra. There was a lady of Egypt, I'm told. The barge she sat on was of burnished gold. Her moral code made the Sphinx perspire. Her Roman scandal set the Nile on fire. They tried to make her marry her brother Ptolemy. She said, I won't tolerate Ptolemy to colony. I only sell to the highest bids. Now she's hunting up the pharaohs in the pyramids. Cleopatra held the key to every heart, and the secret of her art was to keep her men at bay. She used to tease her sugar daddy Julius Caesar by not allowing him to squeeze her more than once or twice a day. For when this minx was up to her jinx, she recalled the words of that wise old Sphinx. Never let men become too chummy, or you're sure to end up as an Egyptian mummy. Cleopatra, Egypt's ultra-true Montmartre, was so respectable a Tartara, her virtue almost seemed a crime. And though more meaty than even luscious Nefertiti, she would reply to each entreaty, but try calling back another time. The world it rang from Rome to Rio with the affair of Antony and Cleo, and soothsayers swore by the very next Ides he'd be making her the first of the GI brides. Now Tony's little kid wife Octavia, she didn't quite appreciate this behavior, but Cleo acted like she didn't care till she went and shoved an asp down her you-know-where. Cleopatra had 40 lovers a la carte, but number 41 got smarter, and he tried to wriggle free. She smiled her smile, and she gently pushed him in the Nile, and she whistled up a crocodile, and said, Pompey, darling, here's your petite. Her henna painted the whole town red. Her nylons hit the Nile on the head. But the only thing her men could wheedle was a nasty jab from Cleopatra's needle. Cleopatra tore every other heart apart, but she was truly in the Cartera when she went and lost her own. Yes, that's the price, girls. This love is very sweet and nice, girls. But if you want a life of vice, girls, leave Mr. Cupid well alone. Take my advice, girls, and never overload your dice, girls. But keep your paramours on ice, girls, and leave love.
Breathe, Fred.
extraordinary, wonderfully warm-hearted person I'm so happy to have known in my life, Peggy Smith Skarry.
Oh, thank you. What did I do with my foot? Okay, now we get down to the serious business of the day. 6 days ago, on February 10th, Monday, 2014, I became 80 years old. I can't believe it. And I think, how did it get so late so early? You know, anyway, then 2 months ago, I started thinking about what could I do to celebrate in a unique way. And I got the idea of having myself a birthday party for me and playing a program of piano music, which takes me back to my roots, because most of you know me as a singer and pianist, you know, accompanying myself and accompanying my students and doing, with violinists, I do chamber music and so forth. But originally, I was a pianist, and I started when I was 3 years old to play, to take lessons. And I guess music was in my background right from in utero, because my mother loved classical music. And the first thing she did when she brought me home was turn on the Metropolitan. And we'd listen to these operatic, wonderful operas all that time, from the time I was a baby until I left for Chicago. And probably after that too. But my favorite operatic heroine was Brunhilde of Wagner, the Ring of the Nibelungen, of course, because she was my idol. But anyway, on Sundays then we would listen to the New York Philharmonic. And so music was just, luckily radio had just come in at a couple of years before that the Met was broadcasting these Saturday afternoon things. So it was really lucky that I came along when I did, I guess. Anyway, my mother started to notice that I was very fascinated by piano. And my mother played the piano, and both my parents sang. And when she saw how interested I was, she went to find a teacher. And luckily, or miraculously in a way, there was a lady in the neighborhood where we lived, this little neighborhood in Muskegon called Lakeside, and she was a genius. She taught little children under 5 the piano, and she used games and stories and colors. And I was enchanted. And when she would stop the lesson, I would say, "More lesson." I just didn't want to stop. And as time went on, my mother was told by this lady, who was also a linguist. She taught Japanese and Chinese and even Swahili during the Second World War. So she was a brilliant woman, but very, common, nice person in the neighborhood. Nobody knew that she was that exciting except my mother. But she told my mother to send me to somebody that was more for advanced students. So I went to another teacher at that point and made great progress and became known as a pianist at that time. Came over to the conservatory in Chicago and had a major in piano. I was a piano major. And then I got into singing after that, really, even though I had sung as a little kid. But the piano was my first love. So I thought this would be a way to return to my roots and come full circle. And hopefully I haven't played anything by memory on the piano for 50 years. So what have I done? I'm going to play 6 things that are my favorite things from those days. I sure did a lot of piano music, but these 6 were especially fond. I was especially fond of. And loosely, the first 3 are the Baroque and classical element, Bach and Beethoven, and then the second half is going to be the romantic and the more contemporary, which would be Chopin and Robert Palmer. Does anybody know about Robert Palmer? Do you know about him, Pat?
No.
He's an interesting American composer who studied at Eastman, and I think he taught at Cornell for a long time. Anyway, I'll tell you all about it. But anyway, I gotta look at my notes here. Oh yeah, if I should nod off while I'm playing,
Oh dear.
just yell my name and I'll come back hopefully in the same piece. Now, since this is a birthday party, you may snack when I'm talking and when I nod off, or when I get up to kind of loosen my shoulders or something, you may snack. But when I play, you must be very quiet because chewing or anything distracts me. And I might wind up in the wrong piece again, you know. Now, in closing, I want to say that I thank you all for coming. This is the greatest gift, you know, that a birthday girl could get, to be surrounded by all of you. So that is, I'm so glad I did it. Now, to borrow one of the most famous lines in vintage radio, return with me to the thrilling days of yesteryear. You know who said that? Do you know what program it was, everybody?
Lone Ranger.
The Lone Ranger. Only he would say the thrilling days of yesterday and with the Lone Ranger. I'm just going to say to those thrilling days of yesterday when I was gobbling up music with both hands. Man, pun intended. Yeah. Okay, now you can pass the stool back to Frank.
Oh.
Just somebody grab it and put. Oh,
I could
he's gonna
probably
come.
just take that stool. I get in front of an audience as much as I can. I'm a nervous wreck, but I still do.
You're a nervous wreck. Yes. All right.
Oh, this is much better.
My first piece is a short, charming little piece by C.P.E. Bach. That's Carl Philipp Emanuel, who was one of the sons of Johann Sebastian. And it's 1 minute, maybe, if that. But it has some of the things that predated Beethoven. Some of the devices that Beethoven used, C.P.E. used. One of them being sudden fortes and sudden pianos rather than gradual. And you'll hear that, and you'll hear it also in the Beethoven thing that I'm going to play. So it's full of 16th notes and modulations. So this is called Solfeggieto. And an interesting little story is that when I was a kid, about 10 maybe, I had a friend that had a large family that lived in the neighborhood. And their taste ran to more pop, and they didn't know too much about classical music, but they liked me when I played, they liked it. So I remember them saying, "Peggy, play that Solfeggieto." And it was I remember that so well, it was so charming. Anyway, I talk when I'm nervous. I'm going to play Solfeggieto by C.P.E. Bach. go back to Daddy, Johann Sebastian. Of course, everybody knows that he was just the greatest genius probably that ever lived and wrote more prodigiously than anybody. And one of the things that he wrote was a thing called the Well-Tempered Clavier, in which he wrote preludes and fugues in every key of the Western disciplines. And in other words, there was a prelude and fugue in C major, and a prelude and fugue in C minor, and then a prelude and fugue in C sharp major, and so forth, all the way through the circle of fifths. And one of my favorites was the C minor, number 2, prelude and fugue. And the prelude is pretty straightforward. It's just, Bach didn't have a lot of coming and going like the Romantics, so it's pretty straight. And then the fugue is, do you know what a fugue is? Everybody that's a musician knows what, but does everybody know what a fugue? I can tell you this. It's a form that has what they call a subject that is a theme that maybe goes for 2 measures, and it's in the key of the piece, and then it comes in again at the 5th, and then again in the alto, and then it goes all the way through all these voices, and so you have to listen for that coming in. Here's the theme of the fugue. Okay, now I'm going to play the Prelude and Fugue in C minor by Johann Sebastian Bach. Beethoven Sonata. It's an early sonata of Beethoven that he wrote. First three sonatas that he actually wrote for piano were dedicated to Haydn. So this is an F minor, and the only thing that I have to tell you is that usually sonatas are in 3 movements. They usually have what they call allegro or something, fast, slow, and faster. But this one has a 4th movement, and it's a minuet trio combination. So there are actually 4 movements in this one. And this is Beethoven's Opus 1, number 1, in F minor, I hope. shoulders, so you may gnash a little bit now. Let's go over here, and I'll be right back. You know, don't take too long.
Wow. That was terrific. I remember from when I was young. I remember the whole thing. And she can sing.
Oh, yeah.
Very young, unfortunately, of tuberculosis. Mostly he wrote just for the piano, and he wrote all these great dances, the mazurkas and the polonaises and the scherzos. And I'm going to play a nocturne that was one of my favorite pieces when I was in the conservatory. Be careful that she doesn't. This is a nocturne in F sharp major of Chopin. Is everybody seated now? So I don't get... Somebody closed the door. Is there somebody coming? Oh wait, is Sally there?
There's somebody in the back.
Oh, somebody got locked in.
I think she got lost.
You can do that.
It has a trick lock. What? Okay, is everybody here now? Yeah. Okay. So the nocturne is beautiful, with great feeling. You know, the romantic period was all emotion and feeling, and Chopin had lots of that. So, here we go. What was that? I heard a phone.
No, it's microwave.
Oh, it was a microwave.
All right.
I'm going to do one of the ballades. Now this one is the first in G minor, and it seems it's everybody's favorite, even Chopin himself. He wrote 4 ballades, and I played 3 of them, but I don't remember playing the 4th one. But this one is an absolute favorite of mine. I think I heard it in a movie. I think Rubinstein or somebody played it in one of those romantic movies that used to come out in Hollywood. And I learned it, I don't know how I learned it. I had tiny little hands, and this thing is too hard for me now even, you know what I mean? It just has all kinds of octaves and things, so, but I love it, so bear with me. I'm gonna try to play it. And again, it's full of emotion. They said that he wrote this when he was homesick. And I think he was in Vienna at the time, and he was homesick, and he wrote this as his feelings about being away from his home. Piece that was actually written in 1945 by Robert Palmer, and he wrote it for William Capell, who was a wonderful pianist back a long ways, who was killed in a plane crash, and I don't know whether he ever actually played it, but everybody that plays it is like, they want to throw up. It has 13/8 time. And it has this Toccata Ostinato, it's called, and it has the ostinato bass is this, and that keeps going through the whole piece while the right hand is doing something totally different. So I will try. It's all octaves. I mean, I don't know. I just like.
Why stop now?
I just like it.
That's good.
So this is called Toccata Ostinato. Oh, I want to tell you that I heard a girl at the Three Arts Club playing it in the drawing room, and I went down there. I said, "What is that?" And she told me, and I went right out and got it and learned it because I just love the rhythm in it. So this is it for the evening for me. Okay, hopefully I'll get through it, I hope. Okay. to do an encore, so I asked Frank if he'd do a Shakespeare monologue that he has prepared that is very funny, and it will be a nice encore. And then I think Howard here said he has a poem that he's written for me, and I'd like him to. And after that, we can go and eat. I hope. Is the table being set up?
Do you want the poem first, or?
Huh? No, you can do yours, and then Howard will do his, and I'm gonna know, where do I go?
Nay, 'twill be this hour ere I've done weeping. All the kind of allowances have the very fault. I've received my proportion like the prodigious son, and I'm going with Sir Proteus to the Imperial's court. I think Crab, my dog, be the sourest natured dog that lives. My mother weeping, my father wailing, my sister crying, our maid howling, our cat wringing her hands, and all our house in a great perplexity, yet did not this cruel-hearted cur shed one tear. He is a stone, a very pebble stone, and has no more pity in him than a dog. Well, you would have wept to have seen our... Yes, you would have wept to have seen our parting. Why, my grandam, having no eyes, look you, wept herself blind at my parting. Nay, I'll show you the manner of it. This shoe is my father. Oh, no. This left shoe is my father. No. This left shoe is my mother. Oh, nay, that cannot be so neither. Oh, it is so. It hath the worser soul. This shoe with a hole in it is my mother. And this, my father. A vengeance on it. There it is. Now, this staff is my sister. For look you, sir, she is as white as a lily and as small as a wand. And this hat is Nan, our maid. And I am the dog. Oh, no. The dog is me, and I am the dog. Oh, no, the dog is himself, and I am the dog. So. Now, come I to my father. Father, your blessing. Now should not the shoe speak a word for weeping. Well, he weeps on. Now, come I to my mother. Oh, that she could speak now like a wood woman. Well, I kiss her. Why, there it is. Here's my mother's breath up and down. Well, she weeps on. Now, come I to my sister. I'll mark the moan she makes. Something like that. Yes. And then, oh yes. Wah, 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 wah. Now the dog, all this while, sheds not a tear, nor speaks a word. But see how I lay the dust with my tears. And that's it. That's enough. Oh, it's from The Two Gentlemen of Verona, the comedy by William Shakespeare, the character of Launce. And I still think I'm young enough to play the part.
I'm going to introduce Howard. Howard Savage is a wonderful composer, and he's been a teacher in the Chicago school system, and he writes really good music. I really loved his music. And Regina, where's Regina? Sang a lot of his music, and it was so much fun. I thought, so.
Well, I'm a composer, I'm not a speaker, and I wanted Regina or my wife to sing this, but I'm going to say it.
Okay.
Stay up, Howard.
No, I rather do sit down. In Praise of a Stellar Artist by Howard Savage in honor of Peggy Skarry. This is one of the proudest moments, I should say, one of the very proudest moments of my musical life, to be able to write poetically and in glorious praise of one of my greatest musical idols, Peggy Skarry. Stellar as a pianist, stellar as a soprano, stellar as an accompanist, and stellar as a music teacher. I have only known Miss Skarry and her great art for a few years, and in a musical sense, in Peggy's case, this is like knowing only a few petals from a gorgeous bouquet of varied and beautiful musical beauty. It is one thing to be born with a natural gift as a pianist on the highest level. It's another thing to be born with a natural gift as a soprano on the highest level. But to be born with both of these, that is something that is spectacular. And to this day, she is the only artist I know of who can perform both the vocal and pianistic parts of a complex art song and do better on both parts than most other pianists and sopranos can do together as an artistic team. In the relatively short time I have known her, this is what I have seen. Peggy Skarry bring to music. Spectacular musical integrity, tremendous musical technique, tremendous musical poise and courage, great precision, the most beautiful musical phrasing, fiery and heartfelt emotion, an ascendant spirit, and a majestic style. And most of all, the quality without which all the rest of these mean nothing, the highest and truest musical good taste. With all of her love of Johannes Brahms, I would like to say that in my opinion, she practices her art in the same stellar regions as that great composer. I know that this opinion, coming from even such a little known composer as me, must still bring a smile to her face. To me, she is in the royal line with other great artists I have heard or read about, like Jenny Lind, Beverly Sills, Martha Argerich, Leontine Price, Clara Schumann, Adelina Patti, Fanny Mendelssohn, Kirsten Flagstaff. Now, I really believe this. I mean, I'm just saying she's in the same region. I believe this. I know that these are the greatest people in the world, but I think she's in the same region. I really believe this. The very look of her house and the style of her life are testimony to her complete musical devotion. She is also a great and renowned music teacher. In fact, I met her through contact with another of my musical idols, Regina Bunto, a great soprano, and one of Miss Skarry's star pupils. Regina's great art, this is the last page. Regina's great art is the best single testimony I know of Peggy's greatness as a music teacher. And then there is Miss Skarry's generosity. I found this out personally when several years ago she arranged a public concert of some of my works, not for any gain in her fame or in her money, but just to help me, a little-known composer. In summary, I would like to paraphrase Shakespeare. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. Well, Peggy Skarry is obviously an artist who was born great, and who, through her long and spectacular career, has increased steadily, through unceasing labor and unceasing courage, this greatness, through achievements of the greatest and the most ascendant musical beauty. And just for that, when I said Jenny Lind and Fanny Mendelssohn, I meant that. I think you're up in those regions.
Oh, I'm overwhelmed. So, as soon as the table is set, I'm probably gonna cry. We can go out and have some food.
Thank you, Peggy.
Oh yeah, one more thing.
What?
I found out that Ballade in G minor was Chopin's favorite piece.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I read that. That was his favorite piece.
Yeah, he gave it to Schumann, and Schumann said, of all your ballades, I think I like the G minor the best. And he said he waited for a little bit, and he said, I do too. I'm glad you said that, because that's my favorite too. So Chopin.
I just have something, I love something.
Oh, okay. This is Pat Ross.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Peggy. Happy birthday to you. Thank you, Pat.
So, table is ready, we can start going out and going around